Now I want to abuse of your patience and your presence here, talking about the two connection typology. One is the power cable, and the last but not least, because it's today one of the most important, is the streaming cable, because it's becoming very most popular now, and it's and the reason why we have to choose the right cable. Okay. We can start talk about the power cable.
Okay, certainly. So we have a power cable
Yes,
in our C series.
C series.
So
Yeah.
this is the importance about this cable is that it is a screened cable. So
Okay.
again,
Screen,
well, as we've said, so
the
all,
screen, yes.
all of our hi-fi cables. Now we do. Obviously, we're a company from the UK, and in the UK we have different power sockets from the rest of Europe.
Okay.
So we have square pin sockets, but at Chord, where we produce cables for the UK market, we are also very conscious of the European market as well, because we have distributors in all European countries.
Yes.
So we produce a Schuko or a European style plug,
Yeah.
and that is obviously what we have here, and then the IEC connection for
Standard.
the equipment. So the benefit of this cable over a cable that you would receive when you
With
receive
your
a piece of
electronics.
equipment is the shielding.
Is the shielding.
Again, we're protecting that signal, and it's almost the most important part to protect, because you've got the power coming in. This is the source of everything.
Yeah.
So choosing a power cable that is appropriate to the level of your system is very important. So this is the one in the C series.
Okay.
Currently in Clearway we don't have a power cable, nor in Epic. But the next one up from the C series is Shoreline. And we have here a Shoreline power cable with our Schuko. That's specifically chosen for this job. And so this is a cable that is the conductor is a bit thicker, and also the screening is more conservative. So that's quite a thick cable. It's still quite flexible.
Yes.
But it's got some thickness to it.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Because
so
usually the problem, the physical problem of the power cable is that they are so big, very difficult to move and to.
Yeah.
It's very flexible. It's good. Well, Martin, now please teach us and explain us about the streaming cable. I mean the LNA cable that becoming very popular now, for the streaming and the connection between components and the devices inside home, and why we have to use a high quality cable instead of the standards cable that we can find everywhere. Because what we concern is that we are talking about 1 and 0, right? It's not music, right? No?
Yes, ones and zeros. So it's difficult to think how they can be wrong. But the digital signal is a very fragile one. And where you have a 1 and a 0 in the signal, that message is actually carried on an analog
way.
It's a digital message, but the transmission of that digital message is an analog. So that is in waveform. So whereas a 1 and a 0, the difference between 1 and 0 is an infinitely fast cliff face, let us say. So ideally, when you have a digital signal, you want the 1 to start immediately, in an instant moment of time. But in fact, because it's on an analog waveform, that 1 cannot start in an instant, so it has to grow. And then so the piece of equipment that is receiving the message has to interpret at what point it recognizes it to be a 1 or a 0. And this is the kind of detail that is important. Now, all sorts of effects can come into play to change the nature of this of this transmission from 1 to 0 or 0 to 1. And one is of course the antenna effect, so any energy getting into the cable can change the way that the digital message is decoded, and therefore changes the nature of the music. Usually it will affect the timing in the digital sphere, so the timing starts to go wrong. So in terms of music, you hear the instruments aren't playing together perfectly, or the musicians are, the drum isn't quite as good as it might be, because
and that's why.
This is why. So here we have, this is our entry level, this is our C-string cable.
C-string.
It has RJ45 connectors on the end, gold plated.
Okay.
So this would plug maybe into your switch,
okay,
or into the network, and bringing the digital message from the network into the switch, and then out to the streamer. Or it is best to give it the best chance possible, so protect it with screening. Also, there are instances now where the loudspeakers are fed by RJ45 cables as well. So there's the incidence of these streaming cables is becoming more. They're becoming more necessary in hi-fi. There are some Wi-Fi speakers, for example, which you can either put out on Wi-Fi or you can hardwire, and usually you would find there's a better signal if they're hardwired.
What we suggest everybody, if you can, please connect the cable, because it's better than Wi-Fi. Where possible. Okay.
So this is the C-string. Now, if, for example, if you have a wall socket, and then you have maybe 10 meters away.
10 meters, yes,
you
long
have
distance.
Your switch next to your hi-fi system. So that's 10 meters of cable that potentially isn't shielded if you're using a cable that you've bought down at the local hardware store, because that seems to be okay. So that is the potential to allow all of this energy into and then it gets onto the earth plane and gets around the system. So we produce in the C series, we produce streaming cables in 0.75, 1.5, and then 2, 3, 5 meters, 10 meters, 15 meters, and 20
meters.
Yeah.
Okay, it's the entry level. We are talking about the C line, right?
That's correct. Yeah.
Okay.
And then from there we move up to shoreline.
Okay.
We have a streaming cable in shoreline as well. Again, now the level of protection on this is, again, it is superior, and the conductor is a better quality conductor as well. So here there are visible differences if you plug in a shoreline cable, the sound, the quality of the sound is
different,
audibly different. Yeah.
And that's important, because the most important thing is that when you make a change in your system, and if you hear something, it means that it's good. There is something good.
Yeah, definitely.
Yes.
The sound
you have not
improved.
to find it, to search, to imagine something, but if you connect a cable and or some accessories or necessaries to change something in the system, when you have a result, it's fantastic, because it makes sense.
You might have a hi-fi system that you're really happy with, that you've proudly built up for a number of years.
Yes.
And you might just plug in, for a relatively small investment, you can try out a change of source cable and see, you can hear more of your system. It brings it more musically to life.
Music.
Yeah. And then we also have a streaming cable in Epic. And again, the conductors here are improved, and in fact the plugs are
also different. Wow.
A higher spec of plug as well. So
it's a high-end RJ45.
That's right. And these can be terminated to length. So Epic is entirely fabricated at Chord, and so the length can be specified. So if you wanted 7.5 meters or something, then we can we can do that to the required length.
Fantastic. You suggest to use also if it's not possible to use a 20 meter, 30 meters cable from the from the wall to the router. You suggest to use also 1 meter, 1.5 meter inside your chain, and it makes difference or not? Yes,
it does as well.
Okay.
Yes, so,
also, in a certain point of the system, if you put 1 meter of stream epi cable, you hear the difference, right?
Oh, definitely.
It's the same story of the power cable, right? Because people concerning about power cable says, okay, but I have kilometers of power cables that arrive at home at my wall, and then only 1.5 meter can make the difference. Yes, make difference.
Well, yes, indeed, it does make a difference. With power cables, what happens outside of the house, we can't be responsible for. But employing good quality cables from the wall socket to the Hi-Fi system is important, because there's a lot of electromagnetism around in those situations. There's a lot of cables usually behind the system.
Yes, the system.
And also having a shielded power cable, you're actually not only protecting it, but also you're keeping the energy in the cable as well.
That's another point. Yes.
So it's not
no contamination. Yes.
That's right. Yeah.
Bene, a questo punto abbiamo concluso la chiacchierata con Martin Cobb della Chord. Grazie mille, Martin. Thank you very much for your help and your training.